So for me, like Dragon Ball, like that's like a good metaphor that I use all the time of like thinking about like going Super Saiyan. Like there's a certain degree where you finally hit this new power level and you're able to maintain it. And at first it's unstable. At first you can only hold Super Saiyan for a little bit. And when I consider psychedelics my introduction to Super Saiyan. And when I first got to Super Saiyan, I would power up and I would do it for a while, but then it would burn out my stamina. I would get tired. I would hit a roadblock, and then I wouldn't be able to go Super Saiyan for a while.
I feel like whatever like personal power you find, like you have to learn to...
You have to learn to hold it and
like
wield it. Yeah, for sure.
Totally. So it's controlled but sustainable too.
Exactly.
So you don't burn out too much.
Exactly.
Or like, you know...
But I had to burn out and,
stagnate.
like you said, fail. I had to fail, and I had to get stuck a couple times in order for me to now I feel like I've mastered Super Saiyan. Meaning I feel like I now know how to keep this more or less...
shit up now?
Yeah, more or less sustained, like destroying the earth, spirit bombing motherfuckers.
Whatever you got to do, man.
Kamehameha, dude. I'll just...
It's all about being true to you, man.
It's over 9,000. All right. So anyway, like I feel like I've hit a point for my own level of Super Saiyan, and I know how to hold it and power it up. And I know that there's a level beyond it. I know that Super Saiyan 2 exists. And I am striving to get there, but I'm totally happy with my current mastery of Super Saiyan 1. Yeah. You know? There are other levels.
You'll eventually get to whatever level like that you've envisioned.
But that's the part about Super Saiyan 1 is that that's what you realize is that like you already, once you've proven you can master this level, you know that it's just a matter of time and training to reach to Super Saiyan 2. And so when you get to this point where...
It's an analogy that's like made in like traditional martial arts and stuff like that. Like, because people walk in as beginners like... Dude, man, you know, it's one day I'm going to get the black belt, man. I'm going to be awesome. And
I'm going
to
like, just be able to fuck people up.
Yeah, and then when people get to black belt, like their teacher tells them, like, so congrats, you've gotten a grasp on your basics. Now, like, the real journey begins. Like, you know what I mean? That's like a perspective changer, dude. It's a like, constant learning process.
Well, it's like in Mastery. In Mastery, Robert Greene's book, he talks about the different phases, like the, you know, where you're in the beginning phase, the apprenticeship phase, then the creative passive maybe, and then the creative active. I can't remember all the like the names he gave it.
Yeah, it's almost like stages of like.
But they were stages of understanding. So the first thing is like,
and then applying it too.
And yes, well,
that's like the essence of education.
You get to a point where you understand the rules well enough in your craft, in your art, and whatever that is, that then you begin to use your imagination and start repurposing, and you pull things from other disciplines in ways that only you can. And that is how masters mastered more than one element. Is that those other elements ended up helping them master the others. The same way that learning a language, now that we're fucking coming full circle, baby. I know. Well, it's just funny when it does that. But when you learn a language, then the next language that you learn after you finally like figured it out, you've then understood the first language you knew better. And then if you were to try to learn a third language, you have 2 reference points now to work from.
Dude, this is crazy. We were connected like through some like cloud, some fucking like Apple cloud or whatever. Okay, so like these guys don't know, like I drive Uber full time, like and then I do my artwork and stuff. So like I was having the same conversation. Did we talk about this before? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I was having a conversation with some people in my Uber like 2 or 3 days ago, and it was literally about language. And then they said something like, you know, wow, like you barely have any accent, you know, because I was born in Ukraine.
Yeah.
But like I feel like I do a little bit now. After I got hit in the head in a car accident, like I mumble and like sometimes my shit comes out with an accent, you know?
Yeah, a little
Either
bit.
Ukrainian or Canadian. People think I'm Canadian.
I could see the Canadian. I could definitely see the Canadian.
Yeah,
Canadian,
I do that. Like
legal weed.
Hey, man. Legal weedy.
Legal weedy.
So anyway,
Vancouver.
And we were talking about it the same way. Like that it's easier after... I said those words to my passenger.
Yeah, there you go, dude.
Dude, like I literally said.
Well, it's because it's true.
Yeah, 2 reference points that expands your like.
But then
scope.
the same thing applies in disciplines that seem unrelated. So if you got really good at painting and then you decided to branch into filmography, which is something that I know you want to get into, what you learn from film will then inform your paintings, which will then re-inform your film. right? And they end
Yeah.
up then dual feeding off each other. You will see things from a perspective that only somebody who's learned both disciplines can. And the more disciplines that you learn, the more that you can learn, the better you get at each individual one, and the more you can separate yourself from others by having an even more unique perspective.
Yeah.
And we are all shaped by the various things that we consume in our lives, information, skill sets, practices, whatever. All of those things are going to make something uniquely you. And the more that you embrace those things, the more that you become so you that no one else could do what you do.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's almost like learning algebra first and then getting to the point where you can like make algorithms and like those two things, and now you can like pretty much build the entire like functionality of a company or like Google or something like that, or Google Maps.
Yeah. Well, because like the mathematics is important.
That's huge. It
then
fucking
learning
runs
the
the world.
computer language is a separate thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there's multiple languages, multiple disciplines, and it literally is like learning a language. And then once you've combined those two minds, then you create something altogether.
Yeah, dude.
And
You
as
create
you-
all this shit that we have.
And as you learn different languages, even within computer code, that ideas that you might get from Java will be different than ideas that you get from Python or something else. Each thing will teach you in a new way because it will have certain constraints that force you to use those constraints to your advantage. And I really do believe that like if you were just given all the equipment you could ever need for anything, you'd never learn anything because you need the constraints, you need the lack of to force you to be creative to then create content from a unique angle. It will end up forcing you to be more creative because you have less things to work with and you have to work around those handicaps.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Interesting.
See, and now I'm glad we did this
We got
again.
a pretty dope podcast, dude.
But I
Thanks,
know we're
Grandma,
limited
for
on
calling.
time, dude, because I don't want to keep it like, way too long or anything. But
For sure, man. We'll do more.
But no, we'll definitely do more, and this was awesome. I really appreciated
Thanks,
it.
bro.
And Michael, thanks again for
Thanks
coming
for
on,
inviting
dude.
me, dude.
I know we got to figure out a better way to do the handshake here with these arms. Yeah.
Air five.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. This was
Man, thanks for having me.
yeah, this was the first guest video podcast. So imagine you guys are going to see more. So keep it up. All right, peace.